Good evening, I'm John Carter and welcome to Poland Daily. Bartosz Niedzielski, a Polish journalist working in the European Parliament on Sunday, has died in a Strasbourg hospital. Niedzielski was seriously wounded after being shot by an Islamic terrorist last Tuesday when he tried to protect other people from the attack. Today, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki decided to grant special pension to the family of the journalist.
Bartosz Niedzielski is the fifth victim of the attack in Strasbourg. The 36-year-old journalist tried to overpower the terrorists just prior to the shooting. He was shot in the head and passed away yesterday around 6 p.m. His death was confirmed by the French prosecutor's office and his family. Bartek passed away. He was an amazing person. He loved people and life. Goodbye, brother. The President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said goodbye to Bartek on Twitter.
Yesterday, Bartosz Niedzielski died in the hospital in Strasbourg, the fifth victim of the attack of December 11th. He worked at the European Parliament and I knew him personally. I am shocked. I didn't realize that he was the one who sacrificed himself to defend others. Rest in peace. We offer our sincerest sympathy to the closest family of the deceased Pole in Strasbourg. We share the pain of this huge loss.
The President of the European Parliament, who knew the victim, also said goodbye to the Pole permanently resided in France.
Rest in peace. We fight to win with terrorism.
A terrorist attack took place at the popular Christmas market on December 11th in Strasbourg. A 29-year-old Frenchman killed 3 people. 12 people have been wounded. Sheriff Chekat, who had previously been suspected by the services as a terrorist threat, managed to escape from the scene. He died on Thursday during a shooting with the police.
The legal case against Polish investigative journalist Witold Godowski, filed by German-Swiss media company Ringier Axel Springer, took place in the district court in Warsaw today. The group is calling for Witold Godowski to be fined for his comments, drawing a connection between the media company and the Nazis. Witold Godowski has stated that he will not retract his words.
This is the second court date between Ringier Axel Springer against Witold Godowski. I am calm and confident in my message. The first date was cancelled due to security concerns. Tens of people showed up to it supporting the journalist. Witold Godowski was sued for libel. Apparently I violated their dignity by saying that Germans would make lampshades out of human skin, soap out of fat, and that Nazis were among the media group's ranks. I am going to repeat that before the court. The district court in Warsaw decided to give both sides time to rethink the case and for potential mediation. I urge you all to consider this case. I suggest the two sides meet and rethink their positions. Maybe you will manage to reach a settlement. The case is scheduled to be revisited in 2 months. Witold Godowski, however, does not intend to settle it. I am hopeful that justice, truth and law will prevail. The media group wants Witold Godowski to apologize and be fined 50,000 zlotys. It is a shame these battles have to be dealt with in a courtroom. This is an unfair battle as the media company has a lot of media and financial power. The case will be revisited at the start of next year.
48 years ago today, the communist authorities used force against workers in a number of Polish cities along the Polish coast. 44 people were killed by the militia in Tri-City, Elbląg and Szczecin.
In December 1970, in a protest against price increases introduced by the authorities of the Polish People's Republic, a wave of strikes and demonstrations swept through the coast. The protesters set fire to the building of provincial committees of the Polish United Workers' Party in Gdańsk and Szczecin. To stop the protests, the authorities allowed the militia and the army to use weapons. According to official data, in December 1970, 44 people, including 18 in Gdynia, were killed on the streets of Gdańsk, Gdynia, Szczecin and Elbląg by the militia and army, and over 1,160 were injured.
Yesterday, more than 5,500 protesters gathered in front of the headquarters of the European Council and the European Commission in Brussels to demonstrate against the United Nations Global Compact for Migration. Some of the protesters clashed with the police, who used both tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd.
The proponents of the Global Compact for Migration claim that it will foster cooperation in handling migration flows on a global scale and alleviate the tough conditions facing millions of migrants. The thousands of protesters who gathered in Brussels see the case differently, arguing that the pact will erase national borders, political sovereignty, and the distinction between legal and illegal migration. A coalition of national conservative parties and associations organized the march in response to the Belgian government's decision to sign the pact. One of the organizers, Dries van Langenhoven, complained that the government is ignoring the will of the people. We want to raise our voices against the Pact of Marrakesh. We find that the decision to sign the pact has been taken in an undemocratic way. There is no majority among the people and no majority in the government. So I think that in the future the members of the Belgian government better listen to what the people really want. A counter-demonstration by liberal and socialist organizations numbering around 1,000 people was dwarfed by the larger right-wing protest. One of the socialist leaders stated that the conservative counter-protesters aren't representative for Belgians. Actually, today a march has been organized against the Marrakesh Treaty, and in the Facebook event it was said that they speak on behalf of all of the Flemish people, and I myself am Flemish and Belgian, and I feel absolutely not concerned. And together with me there is a few thousand men who also don't feel concerned by that march and who call for solidarity, humanity, a humane and solidarity-based asylum policy. As the protesters reached the headquarters of the EU institutions, clashes broke out between the protesters and riot police. Dozens of people were arrested. The largest party in Belgium, the New Flemish Alliance, left the government over the Prime Minister's decision to sign the Global Compact for Migration. New elections will take place next spring.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily Weather, and then join me after that for Poland Daily Business.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tonight. Another cold night with temperatures below zero across the country apart from in Gdańsk. Overcast skies in the east with some snow in Białystok and fog in Lublin. Now over to tomorrow. Some alternating sunshine and overcast skies in eastern Poland. Snowfall in the southeast, while there will be some rain mixed in with the snow in the southwest. The temperatures will range from 0 degrees in Gdańsk to -4 in Warsaw and in the south. Let's see the forecast for the following 3 days. Some snow mixed with rain is expected in northwestern Poland on Wednesday. Clear skies in the central parts of the country with -1 degree. On Thursday, an overcast day with 2 degrees in the west and a minimum -5 degrees in the northeast. Some snow mixed with rain is expected only in the northwest. And on Friday, snowfall is expected across the country apart from in the northwest. The temperature will range from 4 degrees in the southwest and a -4 degrees in the northeast. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Good evening, I'm John Carter. Welcome to Poland Daily Business. The Polish Air Force will buy 4 new M346 trainer aircrafts from the Italian aerospace and defence giant Leonardo for €130 million. The contract also encompasses the modernisation of the M346 models already in possession of the Polish Air Force up to NATO standards. The company employs 3,000 workers in their Polish aircraft factories in Świdnik. All new and modernised Polish trainer aircrafts will be operational by 2022. The Polish clothing retail giant LPP has summed up the performance of the first year of its flagship store Reserved on Oxford Street in London. The store has sold 700,000 items of clothing worth £10 million. That's around 48 million zloty. The Deputy CEO, Przemysław Luktiewicz, says that the new store is important for the company to better understand the preferences of international clients. LPP hired Kate Moss and Cindy Crawford to be the faces of the new store's recent collections to raise Reserve's profile. According to the newspaper Puls Biznesu, the firm Daimler, the owners of Mercedes-Benz, intend to open a factory in Jawor in southwestern Poland. It'll be their second factory in the city and will focus on building batteries for electric cars. The project is worth an estimated 400 million zloty. That's $106 million. The new factory is due to be opened in late 2019. Thank you very much for joining me here this evening at Poland Daily Business. I'm John Carter. Now it's over to Alexander Wierzewski.
You're watching Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight our guest is Thomas Insua of Catholic Climate Movement. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Delighted to be here. Good
yes,
morning.
you came to Poland in order to take part in COP24, that climatic conference that's right now going on south in Katowice.
Yeah.
But you represent the Catholic Climate Movement. What is Catholic in Climate Movement?
So this is we're a network in the church working to support the church in spreading the ecological teachings of the church, the ecological teachings from the magisterium. So we're all about trying to building on St. John Paul II, who taught that the ecological crisis was a moral crisis. We're building on that, trying to frame this ecological issue in moral terms, building also on the Green Pope. The Green Pope is Benedict XVI, who said that the external deserts in the world are growing because our internal deserts are growing. So connecting the ecological issues to what's going on in our hearts and our relationship to creation, seeing creation as God's gift. So we're all about it. And of course, now there's the Laudato Si encyclical of Pope Francis that is kind of the culmination, building on top of the teachings of previous popes, reframing ecology as integral ecology. This is a very important concept. Integral ecology, saying that it's about humans and nature. It's not like some people on the left, it's all about nature and forgetting humans. It's what the church is saying, it's about both. Because by caring for nature, we're also caring for people, especially the poor.
That's the most important issue, especially in the poorer countries of the world, which, by the way, constitute majority of inhabitants. And those people in the poor country wants to live as we do in Europe. They want to have their washing machines, their cars, their individual homes, running water, heating or air conditioning, and all that needs energy. Mm-hmm. Yet, by the strict sticking to this ecology religion that is put upon us, we are denying them. We say, okay, we in Europe, United States, Australia, Japan, we live as we live, but you should stay in the woods where you are now, because, you know, CO2 emission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a very important point. And that's exactly where the church comes in. It's the church's contribution is saying we care about those people, we care about the poor. Actually, it's outrageous that 1 billion people today don't have reliable access to energy. 1 billion people.
What about water?
Yeah, as well. So imagine our lives if we didn't have reliable electricity for our food in our refrigerator and for our health and for our lighting and just everything, really. So here, the balanced approach of the church is saying we need the sustainable development. This is where we need to satisfy the needs.
You went to Katowice, you said what you are saying. Now, what those leftist globalist elite told you?
So there was a very interesting conversation between faith and science. There was a big symposium organized by the Polish Academy of Sciences, the Pontifical Academy of Sciences of the Vatican, and many church leaders, religious leaders. The primate of the Polish Church was there as the leader or as a leader of the Polish Church, debating this point on Fides et Ratio, this encyclical of St. John Paul II on the relationship between faith and reason. So there were really interesting debates about connecting these two things and saying, bringing the moral argument into the conversation. That's the distinct contribution of the church, is saying this cannot be treated just as a scientific issue alone. There's people that are at the core. We need to bring that moral aspect to the conversation, which in the current debate, there's the risk that it gets too polarized across partisan lines. And this is where the church is trying to, bring the human element as well. Most importantly, I think that's absolutely critical because some in the left might forget about humans, and this is where the church brings this central importance of the dignity of the human person, that we need to support that sustainable development from everyone. And this is, of course, a difficult challenge. It's a difficult question. That's why it also being a global one, all countries need to somehow coordinate, need to bring together. We're one human family, one common home. So that's where the dialogue is.
Thank you very much for this insight. Thomas Insua of a Catholic Climate Movement from Argentina, by the way, was our guest. And that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tomorrow. Overcast skies in eastern Poland, but also with some moments when the sun will peek through the clouds. Snowfall in the southeast, while there will be some rain mixed in with the snow in the southwest. The temperatures will range from 0 degrees in Gdańsk to -4 in Warsaw and in the south. Let's take a look at tomorrow's forecast for the continent. The rain continues to dominate in the Balkans. 6 degrees in Bucharest, 5 in Sofia and 11 in Athens. Clear skies over Rome, which will get 12 degrees. Colder weather in Scandinavia, where also we'll see some snow and -7 degrees, while Stockholm will get snow but only 1 degree. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Good evening and welcome back to Poland Daily as we continue this evening's broadcast. So there's a new series beginning this evening. So we're extending our procedure from not only news, but also now, of course, we have business. And now we're starting with culture, history and with travel. With me this evening is series producer Alexander Wierzewski to tell us more.
Thank you for having me on this show. This is a fantastic opportunity and I'm thrilled to deliver to our viewers something more about Poland. Well, we consider ourselves as a window to Poland, and right now this window will be open a little bit larger. We are starting with the greatest Polish musician, who is actually one of the cornerstones of our national identity, Frédéric Chopin. The French name, but very Polish music. And I know that you've produced something very interesting about it.
Yes, indeed. I am the presenter of Poland Daily Culture, which you will see very shortly. And yes, we did a whole series on the great Frédéric Chopin. And also worth mentioning, Benjamin Lee as the host of the history show as well, coming up afterwards.
Right, and Will Richardson will present us the travel show. So let's start from this streets of Warsaw and freezing John Carter.
Indeed. Let's get started then. So it's over to Poland Daily Culture next. Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. Every day, we'll bring you the people, the places, and the works that have shaped Poland's rich cultural heritage from the past and the present. We begin our cultural journey with one of Poland's most acclaimed and renowned figures, musical superstar, Frédéric Chopin, a phenomenal pianist and a highly acclaimed composer. Throughout our series on Chopin, we will show you the music that made him such a memorable figure, explain his distinctive musical approach, we'll explore his life outside of Poland, and illustrate how his name and work and legacy continue to have a huge influence on his home country and beyond. Frédéric François Chopin was born on March 1st, 1810 in Żelazowa Wola, just west of the capital Warsaw. Chopin seemed destined to have a future entwined with music. His mother played the piano and sang, whilst his father played the flute and the violin. Subsequently, his initial contact with music came in his formative years. Welcome, Mr. Artur Goroniewski, historian and Chopin enthusiast. Thank you very much for joining me.
Good morning, John. It's a pleasure of mine to have this possibility to tell you about Polish history in context of Frédéric Chopin, or about Frédéric Chopin in context of cosmopolitan world that knew about him perfectly.
Fantastic. So I would like to start off by talking about Chopin's early years and specifically, who were Chopin's parents and what kind of family was he born into?
Frédéric Chopin was born in a country that's not Poland anymore. His parents, well, his mother is a Polish aristocrat, Justyna Krzyżanowska. She was connected with Skarbek family, where Nicolas Chopin was working as a native speaker. So 16 years old guy emigrates from France to Poland. He teaches French, children of Łęczyński family first, and then Skarbek family, their relatives. And this is where, in Żelazowa Wola, 64 kilometers away from Warsaw, Nicolas Chopin, immigrant from France, meets Justyna Krzyżanowska. They got married over there. The first child, Ludwika, born in 1807, and then Frédéric Chopin, born in 1810. So no one would expect at the beginning that he will become the father of our identity, the father of our culture, because the beginnings were very difficult. He was born in a moment when the tables have turned. No more people were emigrating to Poland, but soon they started to emigrate from Poland.
His parents, who were kind of musically minded, how did they influence the young Chopin?
The most important feature that was given to Frédéric Chopin by his father was this determination, it was this resilience. Of course, he was music connected, he was providing also violin lessons in Skarbek family house, and Frédéric Chopin's mother started to teach him piano when he was 4 years old only. So yes, that was a musical environment, but that was an environment of art in general. And Frédéric Chopin's life was not only about piano. Of course, it was absolutely the main track of his life, but in these very little moments of his life, he was recognized as a good painter, as a poem writer, and as an amazing personality who could perform any kind of role as an actor you would give him as well.
Could you tell us a little bit about this kind of idea of Chopin as a child star? And, you know, he was writing and composing poetry aged 6. Could you kind of talk us through his evolution as he progressed musically throughout his childhood?
In one of letters wrote to him by his father, when Frédéric Chopin was already in Paris, his father was saying, "It took you so short so to learn all of this. 1 hour was enough. that would take some people a week to learn. Yes, first lessons took in Warsaw, provided by his mother at the age of 4. Then his first teacher, Wojciech Żywny, very soon said that he cannot teach Frédéric Chopin anything else. Yes, his first 2 masterpieces wrote at the age of 6. They were printed when he was 7. And when Frédéric Chopin was 8, he performed for the first time in the biggest palace in Poland over then, nowadays our presidential palace. And please try to imagine, you are a pro. You are considered to be an important figure of your profession. You are 30, you are 40, you are 50. And then someone tells you that you should come and hear 8-year-old boy. And this is what happened. In 1818, people from all over Warsaw are coming to a palace located next to our royal route, and they are supposed to listen to 8-year-old person. And after Frédéric Chopin finished, there was silence. Everyone just walked to Nicolas Chopin, congratulating him particularly. 8-year-old boy couldn't really understand the whole situation, so when he came back home and his mother suffering tuberculosis, which was a reason why she couldn't participate in that concert, the first thing Justyna asks Frédéric was, okay, so how did it go? What people were feeling like? And then Frédéric replied, well, I think that everyone liked the Italian color you prepared for me.
And what is the Italian colour?
It's not a regular color of a shirt that we are wearing nowadays. The edges of Italian color are a little bit longer and sharper. They can be seen on first Frédéric Chopin paintings as well when he was a child. He just appreciated the clothing that his mama prepared for his first concert.
Now, could we talk a little bit about his kind of move to Warsaw and when this happened and kind of how it transpired that he moved to the Polish capital?
Take this situation under consideration. You are working as a native speaker, you are working for someone, you meet over there a lady, you stay in territory of theirs property. The first child is born over there, the second child is born over there, and the third child is on the way. This is when you make a decision, I'm going to Warsaw. Now I will look for a better job. First they moved next to Krakowskie Przedmieście Street, which is nothing but section of our nowadays royal route. Soon they moved to Saxon Palace, where Nicolas Chopin was given a very important job. He was a teacher, he was a professor in a high school, Lyceum of Warsaw. And this is how he provided his son possibilities to continue his education, to develop in refined circles. And Frédéric Chopin was 7 months baby when it happened.
Could you talk to us a little bit about his education in Warsaw?
Yes, so mentioned high school was his education place. Frédéric Chopin continued his education in Warsaw in a music school. And Frédéric Chopin started to be appreciated as a pianist at the very young age. Another example provided by his father, he refused to take any money for these concerts of this young boy. He just said, take care of safety of my son on the way there and on the way back. Eventually, as a teenager, Frédéric Chopin would reach these places on his own. He would be invited to a beautiful villa, mansion, or a palace, and he would talk to the lady who invited him, her husband, and their guests who were sitting just like this at the moment as we are having our conversation. And then at some point of this conversation, Frédéric Chopin would just turn to piano and start performing spontaneously, like summarizing what was said during their conversation. So imagine in nowadays world, people having Facebook, Instagram, they would die to record these few moments that never occurred before and will never occur later, because in these days, we people, human beings, couldn't record the sounds. And that's another romantic thing about this romantic period and the romantic personality of Frédéric Chopin, that we will never hear him playing. Whenever we listen to Frédéric Chopin now, we just listen to another pianist who performed Chopin, but performing Chopin is like speaking English. Everyone does it in a different way. Everyone has another vocabulary, pronunciation, accent. Same when it comes to Frédéric Chopin performance. There are no two people who did it in the same way.
Could you tell us why, though, that we have here in Warsaw Chopin's heart?
He knew that tuberculosis might be a reason of his death. He was watching his mother suffering tuberculosis all his life. His youngest sister, Emilia, died because of tuberculosis at the age of 14. He knew he's suffering tuberculosis, and he wanted his body to be buried in Poland. He wanted his body to be buried in Warsaw, just as his sisters, just as his parents are buried in Warsaw. Then Tsar of Russia wouldn't agree on such situation. So Frédéric Chopin wrote a letter to his older sister, Ludwika. "Come around, visit me before I die," he writes. So she came to Paris, and then he had a plan. He wanted his heart to be transported back to Warsaw. He quoted a famous statement from St. Matthias' New Testament, "Where your treasure is, there your heart should be." So literally his heart was cut off his body, put in a jar, poured with French Bourbon, put in a steel tomb, and transported back to Warsaw by Ludwika, first located in Czapski Palace, where Frédéric Chopin lived before he emigrated. Then the heart was buried in the column of the Holy Cross Church. It's almost 100% sure that till nowadays in Warsaw, next to the Royal Route, in the Holy Cross Church, Frédéric Chopin's heart is buried.
Warsaw Chopin Airport. This is where your Poland adventure begins, whether you are taking off to some ordinary or some exotic destination. You'll feel like a kid in a candy store. Check in to check out. Warsaw's Chopin Airport. Your gateway to adventure. So welcome to Poland Daily Travel. We'll be visiting Warsaw's airport and talking to a variety of interesting and even surprising guests. Come along for the ride. We're looking forward to showing you around. Our first guest, Adrian Kubicki, spokesperson for LOT Polish Airlines. Hi, well, we're here in the in Okęcie, what is it, Chopin Airport or Okęcie?
Chopin Airport.
Chopin Airport. Used to be called Okęcie. It's in Okęcie. That's a place in Warsaw. And that's where we are. In this, well, this is the best airport in Central Europe, for sure, and the busiest. I'm here with Adrian Kubicki, who is the spokesperson for LOT Polish Airlines. LOT Polish Airlines, right?
Hello, correct.
Or just LOT
Thank
Airlines.
you.
What do we say now?
Well, we hear all the time different names, but it's always nice to use Polish because we have this Polish, we bring this Polish flavor, so we like to be called LOT Polish Airline.
And what does LOT mean?
Actually, it doesn't mean anything. It's not the shortcut from anything, what some people think of LOT, that it comes from some broader name.
Yeah.
It meant flight, and it means flight.
It means flight.
So it doesn't have direct translation. We use just LOT all over the world. It's actually very nice to use in English as a promotion code, like a lot of.
A lot of something, yeah.
Yeah.
That's very good. That should be a tagline. I feel a very interesting advertising campaign coming out of that, you know?
Will be very surprising. No one would expect that.
No one would expect that. You really surprise them. So, Adrian, how long have you been working for LOT?
It's been already 4 wonderful years, but somehow I feel like it's been 16 or 60 years because recent 3 years actually are probably the most dynamic in the history of LOT Polish Airlines. We grew, within these 3 years, we grew 100% of our operations, number of passengers, number of flights, number of destinations. So it's been busy time. exciting time, and we are happy that we are actually here because this is the heart of our operations. So basically, I would like to say welcome to our home.
This is your home, right here in Chopin. How do you say that?
Chopin is a face of...
I always thought it was Chopin.
No.
And then somebody said he was a piano
from...
player or something?
Well, unlikely, Chopin associates with the French last name of the best Polish composer, but we have to remember that this is Polish composer. Actually, I have an anecdote regarding that. Recently, I went to Singapore with my family to spend some time there. And by the way, we have direct connection right now, direct flights from Warsaw to Singapore. And there is a park, like Botanic Garden in Singapore, and there is the statue of the Chopin sitting by the piano, and it says...
Big statue, yeah?
It says...
right there in Singapore.
It says the most famous Polish composer, so we have to remember that.
We have to remember
Chopin
that?
is our guy.
What about Penderecki? You can't be happy.
Well...
Or Grzegorz Czechoski. He's pretty good too.
Penderecki is actually very well known, and he also travels a lot.
Yeah.
So we're very happy of that. But this is Chopin Airport and great Polish composer here in the heart of Europe. We have to remember that and respect that as well.
Warsaw Frederick Chopin Airport. It's more commonly referred to as Chopin Airport or Warsaw Chopin Airport. It's an international airport located in the Włochy district of Warsaw, Poland. Chopin Airport handles just under 40% of the country's air passenger traffic and handles about 300 scheduled flights daily and an ever-rising number of charters. London, Chicago, Frankfurt, Paris, and Amsterdam are the busiest international connections, with Krakow, Wrocław, and Gdansk close by domestically. Chopin Airport is easily the busiest airport in the newer EU member states. It had 16 million passengers in 2017 and expects more this year. Formerly known as Warsaw Okęcie Airport or Okęcie International Airport, the airport bore the name of its Okęcie neighborhood throughout its history, until its renaming for Polish composer and former Warsaw resident Frederick Chopin. That all happened in 2001. Despite the official change, lots of people still call it Okęcie, both within and without the industry. It was only after the fall of communism that a new terminal started to be built at Okęcie. The main contractor was a German company, and the work involved 164 subcontractors and 121 Polish companies. The airport opened on 1st of July 1992, with the first travelers to use it being passengers returning from Athens, Bangkok, Dubai, and New York City. In 2001, the new airport was renamed Chopin Airport, after the great pianist. The airport you see today was completed in 2010 and 2011. You can buy Chopin vodka and Chopin
on board,
chocolates and Chopin all kinds of things.
Everything was associated with Chopin. We do basically the same thing as Austrians do with Mozart. We're very proud of Chopin, and it's actually well known. Remember that we have international Chopin contest here in Poland every few years. Another is coming in 2020. And I hope the pianists will come on lot here to Warsaw to play piano, to be part of the contest.
There's a big contest every year,
but
right,
it's not every year.
They can use the airport to get here for the contest.
Well, they sort of must.
Because,
as you said,
it's a long way from Japan if you don't fly.
Well, it used to be long. It used to be much longer, actually, but from 2016, we started our non-stop operations from Warsaw to Tokyo. And believe it or not, it's only 10 hours. Sometimes you spend more time on a train going from north part of Poland to the southern Poland.
I've done that, especially this summer, standing up or standing on your head. But if you're lucky.
But it proves something also, if I may. Polish people, like citizens of Poland, Poles, every year travel more and more, and we see the probably the highest growing demand for air travel. All other means of transportation right now will definitely grow. So this is also the place to invest. Because we will see that we are not yet where Western Europeans are. For instance, in Germany, you have For each citizen, there are like at least 4 flights per year.
Okay.
Here in Poland, you have barely 1. So you see what is the room
the
to grow.
population of Poland, let's do how many flights. So the population of Poland is 38 something, plus 2 million Ukrainians, something like that, right?
Right.
Lots of Ukrainians here, including some of our film crew. Yeah, good guys. That would be about 40 million flights.
I make it easier to you.
Yeah.
Last year we carried nearly 7 million passengers, and this year we will end probably on the level of 9 million passengers. And next year we would like to carry 12 million passengers. So you see that the growth is really tremendous.
So you're expanding the fleet a lot also, right?
True. You have to remember that we are a carrier not only for Poland, but as you said, this is the major airport, major hub for Central and Eastern Europe. Mm-hmm. So we do have a lot of passengers from different countries in the region, from the Baltics, for instance, from Ukraine, from Russia, from Belarus, also from the Southern Europe, like Czech, Slovakia, Hungary, different countries in the region.
I've spent a lot of time walking around airports. I've slept in airports, I've eaten in airports, I've almost run marathons in airports all over the place, all over the world, Europe, South America, North America, the Far East. I've been sober in airports, I've been tipsy in airports. Tipsy is a little better. I've been lost and found, I've been up and down, everybody's up and down in airports, and even turned inside out sometimes after very, very long, jet-lagged flights. As airports go, though, this one's pretty convivial and convenient, and even pretty information-friendly. You can't. You've been told not to, without permission. So I can't ask the lady on camera for any information because they have rules here. But if I were to ask you for information, would you tell me?
If there's information about airplane or airport, yes.
Fantastic. So you can get all your information right here. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the Warsaw Rising Museum, a special place dedicated to a major historical event and the greatest uprising in European history, namely the 1944 Uprising of Warsaw. This place is dedicated to honoring the great men and women who laid down their lives on the line to protect the freedom and independence of the great Polish nation. Joining us today is Dr. Mirosław Czado, an expert on the Warsaw Uprising Museum, giving us a guide on what it means to be in the Warsaw Uprising. So we know during the World War times, the army size of both sides of the aisle is drastically different. And what are the exact numbers of the sizes of the armies, the equipments, and how did Poland manage to survive so long after bombardment from the side with so much more army power behind it?
W marcu 1944 roku
In March of 1944, the decision was made that Warsaw would not join Operation Tempest, meaning the city would not engage in any battles with the Germans within Warsaw. The operation was aimed at seizing control of cities and areas across Poland occupied by the Germans while they were preparing their defenses against the advancing Soviet army. Seeing the fate of the Home Army forces that had taken part in Operation Tempest, Chief Commander of the Home Army, General Tadeusz Ból-Komorowski, made the decision to prohibit military action within Warsaw. Due to that fact, Warsaw was not prepared for the uprising at all. At the time of the breakout of the uprising, only 12% of the insurgents were armed. That was because up until July 1944, every single weapon that had been seized was sent out to the eastern parts of Poland. Warsaw did not collect weaponry, as the presumption was not to start an uprising in the capital. The Warsaw unit of the Home Army counted about 50,000 soldiers, but only close to 35,000 joined the uprising. Meanwhile, the German forces were 16,000 strong, with that number growing to 32,000 over time. However, the main difference was in terms of the weaponry. German troops were fully armed, and these units had immense experience from battles on the eastern front line. Therefore, these were the best soldiers, familiar with the guns and with a high morale. On the contrary, the Polish side, only 12% of them were armed. Their weapons were often homemade. Some weapons were seized from the German soldiers, some were dropped from airplanes, mostly during the uprising itself. Bottles filled with gasoline were used mainstream. People would even create makeshift launches for those gasoline bombs. Therefore, the size and quality of the weaponry was incomparable. The Germans even had air force on their side, as they controlled the airports. The Warsaw-Okęcie airport was used by the enemy forces as many as 120 times to drop bombs onto the capital. It is true that the uprising was supposed to last 3 days. The insurgents were waiting for the arrival of the Soviet military, who were located 20 kilometers east of Warsaw. The main aim of the uprising was to seize Warsaw for 12 hours prior to the Red Army entering the city. We have this saying in Poland, if you control the capital, you control the country. That is precisely why we wanted the Home Army to control Warsaw when the Red Army would enter the city.
Nam zależało na tym, żeby w momencie wejścia Armii Czerwonej Armia Krajowa, Polska Armia Podziemna kontrolowała miasto.
One of the guests who honored us by her presence is Mrs. Lumiła Niedbolska, veteran of the uprising. She served as a scout at the young age of 12, carrying out postal services that was crucial for the uprising. In the war-torn Warsaw during the 1940s, when communications is important but extremely difficult, her service not only brought written words and letters, but a glimmer of light in the darkest hours.
I volunteered in the committee and simply asked what was needed. In accordance with the old scout rule, which says, do what is needed to be done, they told me, pass this message, go to the roof and look out for tanks. I would distribute newspapers, as even during the uprising newspapers were being made. The command would give out orders, but they would also publish the official gazette, like in any free city or country. In one of the houses destroyed by bombs, they were digging up people from the rubble. So I was asked to write down the names of the ones they dug up. That was the worst experience of the uprising for me, as I had to write down the names of the bodies they identified. As for the few that made it out alive, they were sent to the medical units. Once I went down to the basement to read a book. It was at that moment the house was bombed. The whole building collapsed onto the basement. That me and some other people were inside at the time. It took a couple of hours for some people from the adjacent building to dig out a passage through the wall and get us out. At the very beginning of the uprising, right after the breakout, the enthusiasm among the people was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. The people were ecstatic that it was finally the time the Germans would finally be gone. Essentially, any other issue became irrelevant. You had to look for food, you looked for food. You had to look for shelter, you looked for shelter. We queued for the barricade. My sister passed through it, and as I began my walk, I heard an officer yelling from up above, "Stop!" But I didn't stop. It took my mother's piercing scream for me to immediately stop in my tracks. And right when I did, a tank missile hit the barricade right in front of me. It hit. I said okay and went on my merry way. Since the moment the Germans invaded the Soviet Union, that is June 22nd, 1941, until July 19th, 1944, which is right before the uprising, the Russians were bombing Warsaw. And that is something that is not talked about, because nobody even remembers it, even Warsaw citizens themselves. Bombs were dropping day and night. Once a bomb hit a rail car and killed a lot of people. One of them was my neighbor's teacher, who had 2 daughters. Those 2 daughters' first communion was 2 days later. Instead of wearing the traditional white robes, they had to wear black to the ceremony.
There are hundreds upon hundreds of personal life stories that depicts the heroic yet tragic life during the Warsaw Uprising. The struggle between the Polish soldiers and the occupational force supposed to last for 3 days, but last for 63 instead. The bravery, the courage, and the resilience of the Polish freedom fighters later on would inspire the solidarity movement during the communist times and became a symbol in Polish culture. It is difficult to combat darkness. You can wait for light, you can look for the light, you can share the light, but the brave men and women of the Warsaw Uprising made the choice to shine. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. See you next time on Poland Daily History.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tonight. Another cold night with temperatures below zero across the country apart from in Gdańsk. Overcast skies in the east with some snow in Białystok and fog in Lublin. Now over to tomorrow. Some alternating sunshine and overcast skies in eastern Poland. Snowfall in the southeast, while there will be some rain mixed in with the snow in the southwest. The temperatures will range from 0 degrees in Gdańsk to -4 in Warsaw and in the south. Let's see the forecast for the following 3 days. Some snow mixed with rain is expected in northwestern Poland on Wednesday. Clear skies in the central parts of the country with -1 degree. On Thursday, an overcast day with 2 degrees in the west and a minimum -5 degrees in the northeast. Some snow mixed with rain is expected only in the northwest. And on Friday, snowfall is expected across the country apart from in the northwest. The temperature will range from 4 degrees in the southwest and a -4 degrees in the northeast. Thank you for watching and goodbye.